Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Lettermen Row. Of course, Lettermen Row's video today is presented by Big Game Football Factory, biggameusa.com/Buckeyes. Get your hands on one of these bad boys. Buckeye Nation, the wait is over. Ohio State is the national champion. Until next January, Ohio State's the national champion. Now you can own a piece of that historic victory over Notre Dame. The limited edition 2025 CFP Ohio State football, the exact ball the Buckeyes use through the college football playoff and into the national championship game. It is handcrafted and customized. The football boasts Nike's distinctive gray fractal swoosh, the college football playoff logo, the iconic Ohio State logo. Of course, it's made with premium leather. Go to biggameusa.com/Buckeyes. Snag yours before they're gone. They're selling like hotcakes, except they're not hotcakes. They're just footballs. They're incredible footballs. You can own a piece of the Ohio State national championship victory. It's the perfect gift for you or the other Ohio State fanatic in your life. Ohio State football is more than a game. It's a way of life, but you can own the piece of that game. Own a football today from biggameusa.com/Buckeyes. That's biggameusa.com/Buckeyes. Get your hands on one of these footballs today. Mick Walker on the other side of your screen. I'm just Spencer Holbrook. Mick, I'm getting ready to head to Indianapolis. I'm going to be away for a few days. Might have to come back to Columbus. We'll see what happens. How are you doing? Good weekend? Good. We just did a video on Friday. We did 4 last week. We're going to have, I think, 3 this week. A lot of content over at lettermenrow.com. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Anytime I get to hop on a video with Spencer Holbrook and see the Nike gray fractal swoosh on the Big Game football, I am doing great. So high and tight, keep it ball security is job security. And we're going to be talking about a lot of job security and job opportunities this week in Indianapolis, I assume.
Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about the combine, those guys. I know that that's not Ohio State centric because those guys are now in the NFL, Ohio State alums, if you will, national champions, all of them. And then we'll get into some guys on the current roster that I think will shine at future combines because I think that's always fun to kind of look ahead at. Mick, I'm going to just ask you point blank, start the video off here. Which Ohio State guy over at the combine? There are 15, which would be a record if all of them are drafted. It would tie the Georgia record. The Georgia record is 16 or 15 set in 2022. There are 17 draft eligible Buckeyes. There are 15 guys at the combine. G. Scott and Josh Fryer not invited to the combine. They'll be at pro day though. If all 15 get drafted, then one of those 2 can get drafted. They would set the record for most players drafted by a single team, but in a single draft. But of the 15 that are over there at the combine, which of them do you think has the most to prove?
I'll go with. We mentioned it before the video. I'm going to go with Josh Simmons. I don't know if he's actually going to work out or anything, but I think the opportunity to meet with teams will be big. He's a guy that we talked about it before. He's not a big media guy in general, but obviously meeting with the teams and doing that type of stuff is different. So I think Josh Simmons has a lot to prove just to show him, make sure people still realize that he's Josh Simmons and the one that they saw earlier this season before he got injured. And I'm also interested to see, I don't know how many of them are working out. It's a big thing, obviously, with a lot of these late season pushes in like a deep January, how many people are actually going to work out considering they were playing football like a month ago. But I think like if you could take a guy like Ty Hamilton and put him on the bench press or some of these like just actual lifting drills, I think we could see some big numbers put up by a few Buckeyes in Indianapolis.
Yeah, Ty Hamilton's a freak. He's going to be able to prove a lot of people. I don't know if he has the most to prove, but he's got enough to prove. I like that choice. But Josh Simmons is so interesting because new mock draft out from Kuiper today has Josh Simmons number 10 to the Bears, like just a meteoric rise, and he hasn't even played since October, and all of a sudden he's still rising up draft boards. It's crazy to me. Some people have him down at like in the late 20s. Some people have him all the way down at 31 or 32, Chiefs or Eagles. But there are some who believe he's going to be a top 10 pick, a top 15 pick, the number 1 tackle, the number 2 or 3 tackle behind Kelvin Banks and Will Campbell from Texas, LSU, respectively. Like Simmons is so interesting because he was here for 2 years. We barely got to know him because, again, he's just not a talker. He doesn't really like talking to the media, which is fine, like whatever. But we don't really know him that well. And then he only played 6 games this year, and he was great in those 6 games. And now he's going to go on to be a pro from Ohio State, but a lot of Ohio State fans still feel like they really didn't get to know him. And I think that's just interesting compared to some of these other guys. Like Will Howard was only here for 10 months, 11 months, and you feel like you know everything about the guy. And I think he's got the most to prove here. I know it's the lazy answer. I know it's the typical answer, the quarterback, but like this quarterback draft class, I don't really like it. And, when Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward are at the very top, I don't think that that's a great draft class. And maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe I'll be cut up in Shedeur Sanders, Hall of Fame super cut in 25 years. Maybe I'll be in Cam Ward's everyone doubted me Super Bowl championship video, but I don't see it with this quarterback draft class, and I think that means that Will Howard's got a lot of upward mobility. Here's the deal, Mick. The combine is about two things. What do you do on the field, and how do you do in the meeting room? I have zero questions about Will Howard in the meeting room. Like, you want a guy who's going to crush a combine meeting? If you gave me 100 choices of guys at the combine, maybe number one would be Will Howard as far as crushing a combine interview. Like, he just, that's what he does. You know, he endears himself to the people around him, and he did a great job endearing himself to Buckeye Nation. I think he'll do a really good job, you know, making NFL GMs and personnel and head coaches feel really comfortable around him and things like that. What I do wonder is how he'll do on the field, because the lights will be very bright, maybe even brighter than the national championship, because you're trying to compete for millions of dollars here. And I'm very interested to see how he does in the throwing portion if he chooses to throw. Ryan Day made the comment that when his feet are right, Will Howard is one of the best quarterbacks Ryan Day's ever coached. Well, you're throwing routes on air, and you're throwing to the best receivers you could possibly have other than Jeremiah Smith. So you're going to have really good weapons to throw to, and you're throwing on air. There's no excuse for your feet to not be good. And if your feet are good, then you're going to have a good day because Ryan Day said so. And so I think the upward trajectory for Will Howard starts this week. And then all of a sudden, eyes turn to him at pro day. And if he has a good pro day, then it's like, could somebody trade up and take this guy at 31 to secure that fifth-year option? Could somebody take this guy in the second round to make sure they've got him locked up for 3 or 4 years? Like, we're talking about some interesting territory for Will Howard if he has a good week this week over in Indianapolis. And the opportunity is there for him. Will he, seize that and become, one of those high-level draft picks, one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the draft? I don't know. There's a lot of doubts about him from people, but, Ryan Day is going to have nothing but good things to say about him. Chip Kelly is going to have nothing but good things to say about him. And he's going to ace in the meeting room. And then all of a sudden he has a good workout. And you're thinking like, hey, we're getting it's interesting here. The 2 quarterbacks at the top are set. But after that, it's interesting. So I've got my eyes squarely on Will Howard this week to see how he responds and how he throws, because I know what he's going to do in the meeting room.
Yeah, and that's a great poll. I think the one that I think will be the biggest social media star, and I think it's something that not only Ohio State beat, but everybody that follows college football will be excited to see, is what TreVeyon Henderson actually runs, if he does run in the 40, just because I think it's been all TreVeyon Henderson speed. Now we'll actually get to put a good historical number on it, I think, and it'll be interesting to see. I don't really have a prediction. I don't know what it'll be, but I imagine it'll be pretty darn fast. Yeah. I think like a guy like Donovan Jackson, he's all the talk about, he's a shorter guy, he's a guard, he played left tackle for Ohio State there down the stretch run. Can he put up some, whether it's different L cones, 20-yard shuttle type of things, can he put up some impressive agility numbers? Those will be the things on field that'll be exciting. Cody Simon's another guy that I'm interested to see on field. I think Tommy Eichenberg and Steel Chambers last year when they're at the combine kind of put up some numbers that made people go, oh, these guys are pretty athletic. I'll be interested to see if Cody Simon can kind of follow on that trend of like, oh, I thought he was just a middle linebacker, but he's actually a pretty darn good athlete. Emeka Egbuka is probably another guy we could talk about with just straight line speed if he does run. I think it seems like Brian Hartline wide receivers always seem to be like, oh, he's actually fast. That was like the discourse a couple years ago with Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson when they ran. They're like, oh, these guys are actually fast. And it's like, yeah, Brian Hartline has good all-around wide receivers. He's not just training a bunch of guys that just run routes. They have actual God-given athletic abilities too. So that'll be interesting to see. And I know Brian Hartline's still got a lot of guys in that room that have God-given athletic abilities that'll be here for a couple more years before they head to Indy.
Yeah, I mean, you're speaking my language here, because I'm looking at Emeka Egbuka and I'm seeing other wide receivers ahead of him. And Travis Hunter, I get, because you can play him at corner or wide receiver. If you have 2 team needs, you're kind of filling one. You get him into camp and you figure out which one he fits best. Like, I get it, why Travis Hunter you would take over Emeka. Who else are you taking over Emeka Egbuka within this wide receiver class? Tetairoa McMillan, as good as he was, like, he was the only weapon on that Arizona team. So, like, are his stats inflated? He was getting doubled a lot and he put up some good numbers. I understand maybe a little bit, but I also will take the craftiness and shiftiness of Emeka. I actually think Emeka could be like a better version of Jackson in the pros, and I'm not disparaging Jackson Smith-Njigba when I say that. I just think Emeka is a little more, I don't know, NFL built, whereas Jackson Smith-Njigba was just so shifty, and he was really good this year for the Seahawks, but I look at Luther Burden. Like if they're the same player, I'm going to take the guy who's got the Ohio State program record, who competed in that room. And again, no offense to Luther Burden, but like that's where my head goes. It's like, this is the number one receiver in an Ohio State wide receiver room that was just absolutely packed. Every year was there. He was there, and he still set the catch record and almost set the yardage record. Like, give me that guy. And so, Matthew Golden, as good as he is, I think he's really good. I wouldn't be angry if he fell to 21 in Pittsburgh, but like, if it's Emeka Ibuka against him and the Steelers are on the clock and they take Matthew Golden over Ibuka, I think they'll regret it for the rest of their, franchise days. So like, I'm just obviously high on Emeka, and that's very clearly scarlet tinted glasses, and that's fine because I'll ride for Emeka any day. I think he's really a special player. I don't understand where people were getting this, that he's the 5th or 6th best receiver in this class when it's not even that great of a receiver class. Like, put some respect on the man's name. I think if he does work out, you'll start to see that respect come, and he'll start to really push into that top 15 range, which sucks for us because as two Steelers fans sitting here, like, again, he falls to 21. The Rooney's better get ready.
Yeah, but that's just the modern day NFL. They're going to have 5 or 6 wide receivers. So regardless, if he stays in that range, if he continues to boost himself up, you're probably still looking at a first-round pick, which would make it – you would probably know, what is that, 3-4 years in a row of a first-round pick for Ohio State? I don't know the exact numbers. You'd have Marvin.
Okay, so we got Marvin last year, Jackson the previous year, Chris and Garrett the previous year. So it'd be 4 straight years with a first-round wide receiver at Ohio State. And then it's up to Brandon, Carnell, and Bryson to make that 5.
Yeah. And then we can talk.
We'll see.
Those are a couple of guys that we can talk about killing the combine. One guy that I think would kill the combine that will likely never participate in the combine except for interviews is Jeremiah Smith, who we can talk about, which would probably make that 6 if there's a patch guy there in the middle. But that leads into your next line of thinking when it comes to the future combines.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to the combine to watch these guys. There's 15 of them over there. We're going to talk to a lot of them. Again, might have to come back to Columbus for some stuff, but we'll see. But no matter what, you're going to see me in video at the combine. I'm going to do some stuff with Mick. I'm probably going to be in Rowback activewear because there's only one way to describe Rowback: best fit, best feel. For those who aren't familiar with Rowback, they've completely changed the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. Rowback has released so many items with their new licensed game day collection. It's our favorite. With novel polo designs, clean hoodies, quarter zip designs for some of your favorite schools, it's definitely worth checking out. Nobody else in the market is pairing these custom designs with quality of activewear. I've had this Mick since COVID. I was masking up when I first put this on, and it still has the same fit, the same feel. Been in the washing machine so many times. I can't begin to describe it. I've gotten stains on this thing. I've mowed in this thing, but I've also worked out in it. I've also played plenty of rounds of terrible golf in it. It doesn't matter. It just stays the same. Oh, by the way, Rowback's everyday shorts or their Delta Performance pants are the perfect pairing to go with this hoodie, with my Q-zips that I have, with the long sleeve that I rocked last week. They're both super comfortable, have elastic waistband, and great fabric that is made to have the appearance of a nice shorts or a nice pants look, but the comfort of the day on the move. Rowback, hey, Caleb Downs, you love him? He's a Rowback athlete from last year. They're leading the NIL charge. Use the code Lettermen20, Lettermen 20 at rowback.com for a generous 20% off all new customers through the end of the week. That's RHOBACK.com. Lettermen20, 20% off all performance polo, shorts, pants, hoodies, quarter zips with the code Lettermen20, Lettermen 20. Of course, I'm going to be rocking my Rowback over in Indianapolis. We're going to get you some Rowback at some point, Mick. We got to. We just have to. Go to rowback.com right now. Lettermen20, 20% off anything at Rowback, your first order. Mick, again, I will be wearing Rowback all over the combine. I'm sure a bunch of other people will too, because sports writers love Rowbacks. Anybody who's an athlete loves it too. Will Howard loves Rowback. He wears it all the time as well. He'll be over there. But I want to talk about the future because this Ohio State roster, I loved this 2024 roster. I'm not going to even try to say the 2025 roster is going to be better, but I think there are some levels of this 2025 Ohio State roster that are going to be more athletic than the 2024. Maybe not better, but maybe a little bit more athletic. Like, I think when you get Jermaine Matthews and Davison Igbinosun, I think that's probably a little bit more of an athletic pairing of cornerbacks than maybe Denzel and Davison was, because I just think that Jermaine might be a little bit better of an athlete. I mean, you look at the safety room. Lathan's a great athlete, but as far as like speed. I would love to see Jalen McClain race him and see who's faster. You look at the receiver room. Brandon Ennis is a crazy athlete, like a freak, and so I would love to see his numbers, combine numbers against Emeka Ibuka's, just to see like if the receiver room is getting, if nothing else, more athletic this year. But I want to know, like, I say NFL Combine for the future. Who's the first name that pops into your head, not named Jeremiah Smith, of guys that you think are just going to destroy the Combine in the future? Because I have my name like set in stone, like athletic freak, Combine all-star, but I want to know yours first.
Yeah, if you remove Jeremiah and Caleb, who I imagine will never participate in a combine when it comes to on-field workouts, the first guy that came to my mind was Kenyatta Jackson at defensive end. I think Jack and JT were both pretty solid. Like, no, they weren't pretty solid. They were tremendous defensive ends for Ohio State. Could push to be in the first round this year. If not, they'll probably be second-round picks, and they're just that good. They helped Ohio State win a national championship. I think Kenyatta Jackson has something a little bit different athletically from the edge position. I think he's a guy I remember in high school when I went down to see him. His defensive line coach compared him to Gumby, like the old cartoon figure, just being able to bend around the edge. So I think whether it's bag drills or it's the 40 or it's some of these explosive agility drills, the broad jump, I think there's going to be a lot of pop for Kenyatta Jackson when that time comes, likely after next season, because I imagine he's a guy that's going to be tearing up this in Columbus this year and under Matt Patricia, and likely heading to the NFL and getting his NFL money next.
All right, I got a name for you. I love that, Kenyatta Jackson. Ryan Day said he had an NFL body. He looks like an NFL player, I think is what he said. And he said that at 2023 Big Ten Media Days. So, that was a long time ago. And entering year 2, they were already talking about how Kenyatta had an NFL, build. He just had to put it together. And I think in 2025, you're going to be able to see him actually on the field making an impact in a starting role rather than in a complementary role. Great pick because, with only one season of production after this year, he might need to have a really good combine. And so I think that you're onto something there. The guy that my mind immediately jumps to is the best athlete on the team, pound for pound. I don't think it's even close. The best athlete on the team is Sonny Styles. And going from safety and defending Darnell Washington as an 18-year-old freshman, against a 260-pound tight end at Georgia in that 2022 Peach Bowl, then to playing free safety or strong, I can't remember which safety, but for Jim Knowles, they were kind of interchangeable. He was a starting safety for Ohio State in 2023. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait, he's a linebacker now? He's moving to linebacker. And then now we're talking about him maybe doing a little bit of stuff off of the edge because he's so good there and he can bend so well. All that to say, athlete. Like one word to describe Sonny Styles, athlete. And so, if not alien, he's an athlete. And so if you put him in like a combine setting, the underwear Olympics, as a lot of people like to call it, like he's going to crush it. He's going to run really fast. He's going to do all the drills correctly because his attention to detail is high. He's going to do really well in the weight training. He's going to do really well in the broad jump and all of those athletic, marks of a guy who's going to be able to compete in the NFL. I think Sonny Styles could be a future NFL Combine superstar.
I don't mean this to be hyperbolic. I think Ohio State could use Sonny Styles on the basketball court right now. I think he'd be in the rotation for Jake Diebler's team right now. The first time I ever saw Sonny before I even saw him on the football field was in a private workout with him and Devin Royal. And at that time, I think Devin Royal, the basketball player for Ohio State, would even admit Sonny was the better basketball player. Like Sonny is just a freak athlete. And if you don't believe me, we're not going to pull it up right now, but if Zach Fleer and the 270 hoop guys, they did a great compilation of all Sonny Styles dunks and blocks from high school and his 3-year basketball season in which you want to help them win a state championship. So you can go look that up and you'll just be able to see how freakishly athletic Sonny Styles is. I think another one that you mentioned earlier is Davison Igbinosun, who'd probably light up the combine. I think Carson Hinsman, too. I think lineman-wise could probably light it up. I think he's a pretty freakishly good athlete for that size, pretty flexible and mobile. Arvell Reese, when his times come, will probably be another guy that can tear it up.
I was going to give you another pick. We were going to go another round here, but you're just naming all the guys.
I'm trying to name them all, but then we'll kick it back to you because I know you've got some. Spencer's job is to know the whole roster, as him and I were talking about, and I think he's got a couple other guys that he would like to give the nod to as future combine freaks.
Yeah, I think one guy that I just have my eye on, and you're not going to see him probably for 2 years or maybe 3 years. But I think could just really do well at a future combine, and maybe we'll save this video and see if it comes comes to fruition. Like I got my eye on Turbo Rogers, just a freak athlete who's really small and shifty and like, kind of like an NFL scat back. I think of like a speedster like Devon A-Chain who's doing so well with the Dolphins right now. And like NFL guys are going to start to look at those kind of players and those Shanahan offense and be like, hey, we could probably use one of those. And, by then maybe Turbo is the perfect guy for the NFL. And then the other guy in this 2025 recruiting class that like, hey man, just get to the combine and we'll see what happens is my guy Riley Pettijohn. Like as far as linebackers are concerned, like they just don't build them like that. And like I remember watching like in preparation for the Texas game, I was watching Anthony Hill as just like he was a freak athlete in high school. He put on some weight and became like a true linebacker at Texas. And I think like he's going to be a really good NFL player. Another guy that like, hey, put him in black and gold and let's see what happens. But like Riley Pettijohn is kind of like if you watch Anthony Hill in high school, not at the edge rushing, but like the linebacking, like running sideline to sideline. Like I love what Riley Pettijohn does at linebacker. And then like he's just going to get bigger, faster, and stronger at Ohio State. And he's already doing that. And so future combine guys, like I'm really projecting here. But I'm also the same guy who I think in 2024 or 2023, I predicted every first round pick that was on the Ohio State roster. And then at the end, I just threw in Jeremiah Smith as like, hey, I know he's still a senior in high school, but this guy will be a first round pick eventually. And he's already on that track. So, I'm not afraid to make these kind of declarations. I think Riley Pettijohn one day will destroy an NFL combine.
Yeah, I've told you multiple times since he signed, and I've probably talked to you off about it. I think if I were Ohio State, I'd let Turbo Rogers return punts and kicks next year and just kind of let it ride with his speed and his ability. I don't think it happens. I think there's a little bit too much uncertainty with that, but I think it'd be a really cool experiment and potentially have big results for Ohio State. But then, yeah, I like Turbo Rogers. I like Riley Pettijohn. And I think if Davidson Igbenogson can get the penalties in line for this next season, which is a big if considering the sheer number of them that happened, you're looking at a guy that could be a first-round pick next year. I think Aaron Scott legitimately has first-round upside with his size, speed, and athleticism in 2 years if he's able to put together 2 years of starting film starting this year and then next season. And then you could look at a 3-year run with Devin Sanchez, who I think is another 3 years, and he's off to Indianapolis type of guy. So you're looking at a 3-year run there for Tim Walton if all three of these guys are continuing to develop the way that they have the talent to. So it could be another Brian Hartline, Tim Walton type of run at the cornerback position.
Yeah, I mean, we're not being really hyperbolic here when they recruit this way. It's just putting it together, developing them. There's only 32 first-round picks every year, but there's a combine every year with 300 guys there. So saying that Ohio State guys could light up future combines, it's not like any hot take or anything. But I think that's where we're going to end it. So we talk combine, we talk future combines. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that on Wednesday. I'll be over in Indianapolis, so I'll make sure to just zoom in here with Mick. I guess it's not Zoom. We're not on Zoom, but I'll be on here with Mick and we'll be able to talk Ohio State stuff.
Yeah. And I don't think Spencer already gave us our great Rowback read. We're not going to give any unsolicited sponsors, but for any Ohio State fans that are in the Columbus area, might be hockey fans, don't forget this is the Stadium Series this weekend inside the Horseshoe. Columbus Blue Jackets versus Detroit Red Wings. We'll say them because they've been a great sponsor in the past. Game Time still has plenty of tickets available. You can use your different promo codes, get on there, Get your tickets to get in the building. I was looking, you can get one ticket if you want to go alone, 2 tickets, you can get them about $80-$90 a piece. You have your promo code for on 3, so you get you a couple bucks off, and you're getting in there, getting inside the shoe again for another good big time sporting event and kind of relive some of the moments and also watch a good hockey game. So that if anybody's looking for things to do this weekend, don't forget, make sure you put that one on the calendar.
Yeah, I think, Mick, you're going to a women's basketball game this week. You're going to the men's basketball game. Or no, you're not going to the men's basketball game because it's all the way out in Los Angeles. Sorry, Mick, we're not sending you to Los Angeles for the men's basketball game. I know it's nice and sunny there, but it's tough. But there's a lot going on at Ohio State right now. The Buckeyes are trying to make the NCAA tournament. The women are already going to be in the tournament. They're really good. The men are just trying to hold on to a tournament spot that right now looks a little dicey, but we'll see if they beat USC on Wednesday. We'll write about it either way. That's Mick Walker on the other side of your screen. I'm just Spencer Holbrook. I'm going to get over to Indianapolis, cover the combine. Again, might have to come back to Columbus for some interviews with the current Buckeyes. But whatever happens, we'll be there. It's Lettermen Row. We always are. Go to lettermenrow.com right now. Good deal going on over there. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the video below, and we'll see you guys over at lettermenrow.com.